Alright, so round 2 of these exports. Now that I have the GoPro Beta with mount optimization, I'm going to go ahead and talk through some of these examples. Now that I've exported the same footage using the same keyframes, but mount optimization and the 4K upscaling with ProRes 422. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the video and hit play. So I'm still using only the long and the short narwhal mounts for these use cases. The first one's coming from the front of the helmet using the short narwhal mount. This is the original 1080p export with mount optimization disabled. You can see the stitch line in the helmet offset. And the new export with mount optimization enabled, the helmet stitch gets a little better, but the sides of my face right above the sunglasses, but underneath the stitch line, tend to wobble and flex a little bit. The actual helmet seems to be stitched a little better, but still kind of unusable footage. The next example here is the front of the helmet narwhal long, the 9-inch narwhal. This is the original one, 1080p, mount optimization disabled. You can see the pretty severe helmet offset. And now with mount optimization enabled, the offset is a little better, but honestly my face looks like it's pulsing and the sunglasses are wobbling. The helmet stitch still isn't the best. I would still consider this unusable footage. It gets a little better here when you mount on the top of the helmet. This is the short narwhal 5-inch. This is the original 1080p ProRes 422 mount optimization disabled. You can see the offset on that blue mounting plate on top of my helmet, and there is the helmet offset. But then when you flip it to mount optimization enabled, the helmet stitch actually gets quite a lot better. And the mounting plate, that blue mounting plate, is stitched together a whole lot better. Making progress. Still a little bit of a stitch line. Then the next example is the narwhal long mount, the 9-inch off the top of the helmet. This was the original with mount optimization disabled. And again, these are the same exact clips in GoPro Player with the same keyframes, which is exported with the new beta with mount optimization. So you can see that offset in the plate. The helmet was still not as offset, but then you enable mount optimization and the tripod mount coming out of my helmet seems to be wobbling a little bit, but the actual circumference of the helmet, like the black edges, look a lot better. But right on my shoulders and right at that stitch line, there's still a little bit of a visible stitch that you can see in the concrete lines from my back patio. So then this is kind of an exaggerated example, super long mount coming off the top of the helmet. This is, I don't think anybody would ever do this, but just to kind of prove a point, this was mount optimization disabled. You can see the helmet offset. Come here, come. With mount optimization disabled, and it kind of erases the back half of that blue mounting plate edge, and there's a pretty severe helmet offset. But now exported with mount optimization enabled, the circumference of the helmet looks a little better. You're still missing the back half of that blue mounting plate, and you can kind of see there's like a sticker on the back of my helmet. It's wobbling a little bit back and forth. It keeps the circumference of the helmet stitched decently, but it's like the two halves of my head are wobbling back and forth. So next are some photo screen grabs, and you'll see mount optimization disabled from the front and the side-by-side with enabled. It gets a little better, but still my sunglasses are way off. The next example is from the top. This is disabled, and now with it enabled, a little better. The lines get a little better. And then a longer narwhal. This is pre-mount optimization with it disabled and now enabled. A little better, but the line is still apparent on my helmet. And then I've got some video examples that I took QuickTime screen recordings of here. This is mount optimization on, and this part that I'm circling with my mouse, keep close eye there. With mount optimization on, you can kind of see where the four corners of that stitch come together. It's pretty noticeable in some areas. Again, right where my mouse is, you can kind of see, it almost looks like 4 quadrants stitch coming together. That was one finding with mount optimization. The next one, again with mount optimization on, was that stitch line. Even though it stitches the helmet properly, I'm getting like my shoulders, and you can see it noticeably in the ground on the concrete where those lines are, that it's still like warping and manipulating my shoulder in those lines in some areas, kind of making a little bit of an obvious stitch. And then for my third point of feedback here, another QuickTime screen recording with mount optimization on. This is with that super long mount. This is world lock off, horizon leveling off. And it's that wobble in my helmet. You know, it keeps the circumference of my helmet intact, but the mounting plate on top of my helmet seems to be incomplete, and the like 2 hemispheres of my head are like wobbling back and forth, which is a little odd. So anyway, that's my findings. Hope to continue